You know, as engineers and producers, I'm not sure there's a single thing that can mess up our mix and our production faster than the effects of ear fatigue. Oh man, why do I know this? Because I have screwed up so many mixes over my career just due to tired ears. You know, this is an area that I really struggled with earlier on in my career, and it was absolutely unnecessary. I mean, in almost all cases, ear fatigue is something that is self-induced and totally unnecessary. So for today's session, I want to share 3 simple ideas that if you incorporate into your daily workflow, you are going to be haunted by ear fatigue way less. In fact, I believe you can absolutely eliminate it from your world entirely. So let's get into this thing. The very first and probably foremost, monitor volume. Oh man, this is probably one of the areas that I struggled in the most. I mean, I don't know why I insisted earlier on in my career that I had to have everything so loud. I monitored so loud to everything, whether I was tracking or overdubbing or mixing. The speakers were just always blazing, you know? And I probably just thought I was being cool or something, but there is nothing cool about wasting your ears with a bunch of loud, useless volume in the control room. I mean, particularly when you go to mix music. The only time today that I mix loud is probably the first 10 minutes of a mix. Otherwise, that monitor volume is way low almost all day long, and I get great results from it. You know, in my experience, really cool mixes come from making great decisions. And it is really hard to make a great decision when your ears are fried. You know, you're 12 hours in, you've got no perspective on anything, and here you are expected to pull off a really great mix. When you're in the control room and you get that volume knob and you pin it, yeah, that might be exciting for a minute and to have that kind of assault from the speakers. But the way our ear works, you're not getting at all an accurate reproduction. I mean, there's something called equal loudness that exists in the human ear. And in order for us to hear a well-balanced signal, it needs to be a moderate level. If we take that volume knob and just start increasing it radically and turning the volume way loud, the equal loudness curve of our own ear changes. So yeah, for a minute, you might think it's really cool to crank those speakers and listen really loud for a minute. But yeah, you're not actually hearing an accurate representation. So this is one area where I've literally done a 180. I monitor at such a moderate level today, and it's very rare for me to get these speakers really rocking. Well, another practice that can be an absolute game changer, taking scheduled ear breaks. Now, I believe everyone knows how beneficial those ear breaks can be, but it can be very, very easy to kind of get sucked into the studio. One method that I've sort of adopted that has created a natural ear break for me is the fact that I consume a lot of tea when I work. I drink probably 8 or 9 cups of tea every day when I'm working in the studio. So that automatically gets me out of the studio approximately every hour or so. And it takes me 7 to 10 minutes round trip to go make my cup of tea and get back down to the control room. In my experience, this is something that can be so beneficial is not just taking that ear break, but leaving the environment. You've got to get out of that control room, even if it's just to the next room or to step outside for 5 minutes. The benefit that you can get from breathing fresh air for just 2 minutes, it's been documented. It's an unbelievable thing that can happen to your brain and your body if you go outside and breathe fresh air for like 2 minutes. So this is one of the most important things to avoid ear fatigue. You've got to create those scheduled ear breaks. At least every hour or so, just getting out of the control room for 7 or 10 minutes can just be priceless. Yeah, so many times coming in after an ear break, those great decisions that we were talking about, they just boom, they just happen. So this next practice in keeping that ear fatigue to a minimum is something that I really only learned through experience of making the transition out of working on tape machines into the modern DAW. Now, I know that transition happened a while ago, but something has become very, very apparent to me in working totally inside the DAW. You have to follow along with me here for just a second. 25 years ago, when I was working on a mix and I was working on analog multi-track tape, There was a physical time that tape machine would take to get to the end of the part you were working on, stop, rewind, locate back to the position, right? And go back into play again. Well, the time that the multitrack would take to sort of relocate itself back to the beginning would create a substantial break in what you were listening to. And in my opinion, a substantial opportunity to consider what it is that you're working on. So when I made that transition into the DAW, all kinds of cool new aspects of the DAW existed, right? Like the fact that you no longer had this transport function. You just had the ability to loop like 4 or 8 bars and just work on a section of a song indefinitely. I suffer from ear fatigue far less when I stop using that loop function. In other words, I know it's convenient to sit there and work on 4 bars of a song and just have that looping and looping and looping. The problem is your ear doesn't get a break, right? You get no perspective. This, I just about promise you, will help with that ear fatigue. Try and turn the loop function inside your DAW off. I'm gonna loop 4 bars, check it. Yeah, it might seem like it's going to be a real benefit to have a track looping continuously while you focus in on one section. My issue with that is that you're literally not giving yourself any perspective. This is just something I've learned through experience, that simply taking that loop function off and letting that track play and then stop so that there's an actual break. Now, some of you might actually be thinking, oh, Ken's lost it here a bit. No, this has had a really major impact on eliminating ear fatigue for me. This is just something that I've sort of noticed over 30 years. There is a major benefit when you're mixing songs and focusing on different parts to have a break at the end of that part. There's something about looping sections together and just continuously having volume and stuff come out of those speakers with no break in the picture. Just in my experience, it increases your chance of ear fatigue and decreases the amount of perspective that you get on any given track. So I encourage you to try all 3 of these techniques and eliminate ear fatigue forever.